The first day of preseason ends in a forgettable manner for Man United, but more specifically for Casemiro, as a little known kid just destroys him and probably send him to Saudi. Welcome to the Netherlands Sport. My name is Webb. This is the evening wrap up of what's going on concerning our beloved club. Of course, no transfers sealed today. Well, no transfers sealed today, but there is some transfer talk because Leny Yoro is still undecided on what he wants to do with his future. Like this video, guys, share and subscribe to the United Sport, and let's talk proper because we are getting there. The first game, of course, of preseason against Rosenborg in Norway, Man United loses by a goal to nil. Again, we are conceding late goals. The 3rd minute of added time, we concede that goal in a game that we were completely off. Eric Ten Hag spoke after the game and said, this is unacceptable. Honestly, it's a preseason game. The first game of preseason, players are unfit, a bunch of nobodies, kids in there. Of course, there were certain big senior players in the game, from Wan-Bissaka to Casemiro to Mason Mount, then Rashford, who was trending for all the wrong reasons. And people are again saying now that I think it's time for us to cash in on Rashford, because if we don't, we will regret, because we might be stuck with him. I saw him taking instructions from Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I'm thinking, does he really get these things in his head? But anyway, it's only the first game of preseason. It's really unfair for us to judge these players based on how they performed against the Rosenborg in their very first game after a long time. That's the honest truth. But Casemiro, there is no excuse. Never mind it being the first game of preseason, players unfit. Casemiro is old. He was injured for some time. Whatever reasons you can give, this little kid destroyed Casemiro, and I'm telling you, it is if indeed Casemiro fails his medical with Saudi, we know who to blame. That Rosenborg kid, I can't even recall the name. The kid completely destroyed Casemiro. He came with his sliding tackles, and the kid just feigned and faked him, and he went off completely. It is, I can't describe it. I just wish I had the image rights to play it for you. Unfortunately, I don't. But it is something we've probably not even seen in the Premier League. I mean, Casemiro is completely off. If you imagine that that's the number 6 Man United, was paying what, 340,000 quid per week, wanting them to compete with Man City and the likes. It's with Rodri, who is perhaps going to be winning the Ballon d'Or. You see really what we need to do. And this is what I've been telling you guys. If we don't have a proper number 6, we need a replacement for Casemiro. A replacement, not a backup. We needed a backup, and perhaps in Sofiane Amrabat we found one. We need a replacement for Casemiro badly. But it was terrible, a terrible sight to see. I felt for him, really. I felt the pain on his behalf. There was the captain of Man United destroyed. But also, Marcus Rashford not putting in a proper shift in there. And of course, he's training on X. People are saying we should sell him now. We've said this several times before, that for me, if we get the right amount of money from Rashford, we should be cashing in on him like yesterday. So that one, there's no doubt. But speaking of players in and out, Leny Yoro, according to what's coming through from France, has is undecided on where he wants to what he wants to do with himself. And Man United are increasingly running out of patience. He seems to be still confused by Real Madrid. That is one. His agent, who happens to be George Mendes, who we believe is a good ally of Man United, once seems to insist on him joining Real Madrid. And even if it's for cheaper, I don't know. I think that perhaps there is a certain pride in him saying, I would imagine that the agent George Mendes would benefit more if Leny Yoro moved to a club giving him a lot of money, whichever the higher bidder. But if he wants him to go to Real Madrid, it's perhaps a thing of pedigree that he sold a player to Real Madrid. I don't know, but George Mendes is indeed a legend, perhaps called the super agent, probably the best we've seen. But anyhow, so Leny Yoro is still there and undecided, and the clock is ticking. Real Madrid are putting him under pressure to make a decision on whether he wants to join United or not. Meanwhile, he does not want to respond. He's still silent, and the club Lille accepted the offer from Man United. The player is there. Now, for me, honestly, I believe in patience, because it's the mature thing to do. The older you grow, the more mature you are, and maturity means patience. You've got to be patient to an extent. But the too much patience becomes perhaps foolishness, borderline foolishness. If you wait on a player, because we are in a summer transfer window that we take so serious, We've been through a lot as Man United. We are trying to rebuild this club. We identify this kid who is 18 playing in France, and we move quick, even against perhaps our budget. We move quick to try and seal him, agree with the club, and it's now up to this kid to say I'm moving, and he's taking weeks to decide whether he wants to come to Man United or he would rather wait for Real Madrid that could even come for him at the end of next summer, or perhaps can even change their mind because they promised him, they spoke to him, but are only willing to sign him for way below what Man United agreed with deal. You think about it, and whereas yes, it's a smart thing and a mature thing to be patient, I think for a club like Man United, I think it's belittling ourselves too much, making ourselves like so desperate, and I feel like that's where we've come from. I think we're not going to be that club under Ineos that will be desperate to sign any player. Man United, no player can ever hold Man United at ransom because that's in a way it's modern day holding someone a club like Man United at ransom. Now, if you're Leny Yoro, promising as he is a generational talent. I've told you, I've likened him to Lamine Yamal and Kobe Maino, those rare kids, talented kids that you see in football. But that's no excuse for him to come out there and United agrees with his club and he takes his time to decide whether he wants to join us or he would rather wait for Madrid to come and pay whichever amount of money they want. It's disrespectful to say the least. So my view is Ineos have got to make a decision and move. First of all, 50 million, it was 50 million pounds plus 10, that to make it 60 in add-ons is insane for a player his age, regardless how talented he is. For us to be able to be willing to put in that in this period where we are, knowing that the money is a collection of all from all sources, we are robbing Peter to pay Paul, if you know what I mean. I feel there's absolutely no justification for us to be held at ransom by this teenager. So Ineos have better move, make a decision, and find the right players who have got the zeal, the desire, the hunger to join Man United. I liked Joshua Zirkzee, our first signing. He clearly had almost agreed with AC Milan, but the moment Man United came calling, he woke up and realized that, you know what, this is a big time opportunity for me to be part of a promising project in the biggest football club in the world. He made his decision. These are the players we want to talk to. The likes of Mathis Delete, who is saying he doesn't want to listen to any other club. If Man United wants him, it's only Man United he wants Bayern to negotiate with. These are the players we should be focusing on, not waste. I would rather, by the way, and against my interest, because it seems Ineos and Eric Ten Hag have seen something in Jared Branthwaite. I would rather get that money and spend it on Branthwaite, who wants to join United, who is eager to join United. So I would say, yeah, whereas it's a rip-off from Everton, but at least we are getting a player who has got that hunger to join Man United. It's very important for me. So I think this Leny Yoro thing, the longer it drags, honestly, if it goes beyond this week, I think we should be saying, you know what, come on, we move on, we move on. So we cannot be here waiting for him, a teenager, to call to say yes or no to Man United. Honestly, it's not us. It's not who we are. We are better than that. So that said, as we of course now continue in the preseason, we know that there are many more games to come. Certainly, United is just after this one that we lost 1-0. The next game should be Saturday, I think. We're playing Rangers, and then of course after that on the 28th of July, we will be taking on Arsenal in the preseason. So our next game is against Rangers. So it's a very critical period we are in these, of course, coming days. But I'm hoping that by the time we play Arsenal, most of these senior players who have been trying to recover their fitness will join. The Amad Diallos, the Antonias, we'll see more of the more established players at Man United featuring for the team in these preseason games. And perhaps that's when, in the tour of the US, perhaps that's when we shall go for our live watch alongs that you people barely watch because you're always up, sleeping. Yet I keep up late in the night to try and give you the games. But anyhow, I'll still do it for the love of the club. So those who will be there, those who are in a good time zone where you're up at that time, because these are late night games or early morning games, Those who will be up will savor the games with me. For those who are not, you watch the replays of the watch alongs. So all you've got to do is subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and let's of course keep growing and talking Man United. This is the United Sport. The next coming days between now and because you don't expect so much action to so much updates when we have a game going on. I think the focus always, I think, is the standard. When you have a game, regardless whether it's a friendly, a pre-season friendly or what, focus is on the game. But expect something on Sofiane Amrabat, expect something on Mathis Delete this week. But also, what I loved in the, and again, it's giving me a lot of hope. Seeing Ruud van Nistelrooy giving instructions to Marcus Rashford. I hope he's telling him to be generous when Hoyland and Zirkzee come and join the team, because that has been one of the biggest weaknesses of Rashford for me. If Rashford were assisting more, I think he would have been a better player than he was the whole of last season. But the fact that in his head he still wanted to be the one, the showman, it actually destroyed him inevitably. So I hope Ruud van Nistelrooy is helping him with that. But that said, don't you be discouraged by this preseason game. I think there are people who felt good. The positives in the game, I think Mason Mount looked a bit sharp for some. I think he's beginning to look fit. He started playing next to Casemiro, where a bit deeper. So well, there is some bit of hope, at least in Mount, because he looked decent. He looked decent. Let's wait and see how it will all go, because this is the season where it's all or nothing. He has got to save himself. No one will listen to no excuses. Mount has got to perform this season. My name is Webb. This is the United of Sport. I will be catching you later, fam. That was a quick update about Man United and all the goings on earlier on in the day. Cheers, fam.